This is the Crisscross Show. I've been gone for just about a month, but I'm back. I've got a lot to talk about. Obviously, I've been off because there hasn't been much to really talk about on a week to week basis, but now we have a ton of stuff. So today I'm going to be talking about the MBA, NBA, on what's to come. The season starting up again. The MLS coming up surprisingly out of nowhere. I'm going to be talking about football. I'm going to be talking about the MLB still not making decisions, and a weird experience I experienced today. So I'll be talking about that in a little bit. All right, so I want to start off with the NBA, but I want to jump into this first. So when the whole coronavirus pandemic started, obviously there were essential employees, and then there were non-essentials. So some people went to work, some didn't. People that work at the grocery store, they were still forced to go work. They were still told to work. They were, I know people in the airport are working. Other businesses, not I'm not gonna get too specific into that, but they're working. They have to work during this pandemic. They have to go out there, risk their life, in hope, potentially catching a virus. So obviously, it's not going to be fair. If the whole world wanted to shut down and prevent everyone from doing it, then people would starve. The economy would plummet to the ground. So obviously, there's never going to be a fair option, right? There's you still have to have groceries open so people can go get stuff to eat. You still need other areas open so people can travel safely. So nothing's ever going to be fair. There's never a fair option for everyone. And the NBA had multiple plans. Adam Silver and his team came up with multiple, ideas. They sent out surveys which is the best way to, kind of come back to a World Cup style, bring everybody back, bring certain teams back, only bring the 16 teams, bring 22, bring all 30. So it wasn't going to be fair for everyone. There were teams that already, were kind of no, our season's over. We'll wait till next season when, our players are healthy. So, and again, the plan they settled on was a 22 team, play 8 games in hopes that, maybe something shakes up in the playoffs. That's the fairest they could do, in my opinion, because, you look at Minnesota, you look at Golden State, you look at Atlanta, you look at Cleveland, teams that are bottom feeders this season. They don't want to come back to play 10 15 games, risk injury for next season, then lose their player for the next season. And since we already know next season is going to be shortened, that doesn't give them much time. They're going to have to basically rebuild for a whole nother year. So nothing's going to be fair with the NBA. So, obviously they came up with the plan, 22 teams, start July 30th, obviously bring in players early July, have them work out, get them back in basketball shape, everything. So, in my opinion, this is the fairest they can go. A lot of teams disagreed with it. I think Portland was the only team that said no to that plan when they voted. Everyone else said yes. But, like I said, they're sticking with that 22 team, going 8 games. I think it's perfect for teams that are already locked in the playoffs, and teams that need motivation. I know the Western Conference, at least the 2 through, 7 seeds, they're within 4 games of each other. So that's a huge, difference those 8 games can make. Teams are going to be really intense. Teams like Milwaukee, teams like the Lakers, have a cushion. They can, practice. They can get some reps in with some games. So, it benefits everyone that's in that bubble. Obviously, Phoenix and San Antonio obviously don't have that benefit because, they're so far low that, 8 games is just enough for them to go 8-0 and hope that, Memphis or Portland or teams above them, go 0-8. So, it's a long shot, but it's also, it's not going to benefit everyone. So, I like their plan. I think it's awesome. I will get into in a little bit about why I don't like their actual schedule, but I think, that plan to come back is the fairest they can do. Obviously, like I said, it's never going to benefit everyone, and if it does, then, you're living in a fairy tale. All right, so next topic, or kind of switching into their schedule. So NFL, we know that the NFL is the most watched sport in America, right? It's America's most famous sport. The NBA is more known globally than the NFL, but the NFL is expanding. They play games in Mexico, they play games in London, so they're expanding too. Now, one thing I will say about their schedule is starting July 30th is a long time. That's still more than a month and a half away. Obviously, training camp starts early July. Obviously, I understand the getting basketball players back in basketball shape. I understand a lot of players, especially a lot of star players, don't have like basketball courts at home, don't have access to go see or work out in their basketball, arenas. So, I understand the whole giving players at least 2-3 weeks to kind of, build some reps, get ready. And so, one thing I'll say is I understand that, but I also know that we're at the beginning of June. Um, get players in end of June, maybe like the last week of June, get them in, use the first 2 weeks of July, then jump into the schedule. Like, July 15th, July 16th, start jumping into the 8 games, get the playoffs going maybe late July, early August, get the first 2 rounds done in the month, and then, get the next 2 rounds done in the next month, and you'd be done by early October. Or, the first week of October. So, again, there's a whole lot of factors to, getting players in shape, getting them back in the mindset, especially with everything going on, just having them focus a little bit more, giving them a longer time to, kind of get focused. So I understand that. And again, the one thing I'll say is the NBA, the way their schedule works is, the playoffs start mid-August, and the finals, the last possible finals date is, I think, October 12th, October 13th. And let me tell you this. So that week of the finals, like games 6, 5, 6, and 7, if there is 5, 6, and 7, which would be around like, the week of October 8th, October 9th, October 10th. The way the schedule works for, at least for college football and NFL, is, the NFL is going to be in week 5. College football is going to be like in week like 7 or 8. The games that are going to be on, and I'm just going to tell you about those games. Auburn at Georgia, Clemson at Florida State, Iowa at Ohio State, LSU at Florida, Michigan at Michigan State, Texas at Oklahoma State. Or at Oklahoma. Those are some big time games, and I left out a couple of other games. Those are some big time games that people are going to tune in on a Saturday, especially if there's a finals game on that Saturday. Guaranteed, not a lot of people are going to be watching that game. Also, looking at the NFL, week 5, which is around when the final should be ending, or if it goes to 7 games. Obviously, October 8th, the Bucks at the Bears. Thursday Night Football. Then you're going to get, on October 11th on Sunday, you're going to get the Eagles at Steelers, Giants at Cowboys, Colts at Browns, Vikings at Seahawks, and that's a Sunday night game. Obviously, and also a Monday night game, Chargers at Saints. So, not to say anything, but everyone watches the NFL. Like, now that they've legalized gambling, everyone's going to watch the NFL. The NBA, if it was in Vegas, everyone, I feel like, would watch it because, you can gamble easier and stuff like that. But it's kind of tough to really, come back and have your finals during rivalry week and during all these good big school games in college football. I mean, it's kind of tough to really come back and try to compete with them. I understand that maybe this is the time where people watch the most TV, so maybe someone's going to want to jump in an NBA game, during commercials or during halftime. I understand that. I'm going to be watching NBA over the NFL and college football, but I'm one of the minorities in that group. So it's kind of tough to kind of come back and have your finals during those games. And I just named a couple of those really good games that a lot of people are going to be, marking on their calendar and, getting that popcorn and parties ready. So I don't know. I mean, I'm going to be watching the NBA, especially if, the Lakers are in the finals. But it's going to be really, really tough to compete. And all I can really say, and that's why I don't like their schedule. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't like that schedule either, because it gets in the way of the NFL and college football. All right, so I talked about, I think in the last episode, I talked about the MLB proposing set amount of games. Obviously, the MLB should be, if everything had gone according to plan, no coronavirus, the MLB would be in the heart of their season, right before All-Star break. Teams are we kind of already know who's going to be in the playoffs at this point. We kind of know who's rising, who's not, who's going to go down. And again, the MLB has yet to confirm a schedule, has yet to confirm games. And obviously, with the MLB, you need to do that quickly. And I heard on a report that they want to be done, in their usual schedule. So obviously, they're going to have a shortened schedule. They're going to have potentially 80 games, potentially 60 games. And, I get it, the whole money situation. A lot of those players make very, very small money. The big players obviously are making their bank money. So, they're bringing in the Brinks trucks for that. But again, the MLB, it's time. Like the MLS, nobody was paying attention to the MLS, and they made a schedule. They're coming back July 8th. Nobody was talking about the MLS. The MLS, you couldn't hear them, and I follow them on social media, all over my social media. I didn't hear them at all. Just that one incident that happened a couple weeks ago, but they're back. I mean, maybe it's easier with soccer, but, they're back. They did their work in silence, and, it is what it is, and they're back. And I obviously like their World Cup schedule. They're doing like a World Cup style. Obviously, they're doing Eastern, Western group. I think it's like A through E groups. I really didn't look into it. I looked into it really quickly before I filmed this, but they're coming back. They're doing a quick World Cup style tournament in Orlando, obviously. So Orlando's the place to go apparently. And they're just having a season like that. So I applaud the MLS for doing that. I know this is around the middle of their season. This is around their All-Star break as well. They're coming back, and they're going to play a couple games. I think it's going to be great. I think it's a great alternate to a season that was kind of lost due to the coronavirus. And honestly, the MLB should do the same. The MLB should do 60 to 80 games in 2 set locations. Obviously AL, NL, make them compete. Then you get into the World Series and boom. Or, you bring every team into, Arizona or Florida where they do their spring training, have them all there, have those games in those, in those spring training arenas, and, let's get it going. People want to see more sports. I mean, UFC's coming back. NASCAR's back. I mean, the MLS has already made a decision. College football and NFL have said, they're doing their season regardless. I mean, it's timing. Like MLB, like you want 114 games, you want set amount of games. Let's get it going. Let's get the schedule out. NBA came out. They said, our schedule's from here to here to here to here to here. They didn't come up with any games yet, or who's facing who, but they got their schedule out. They're saying, hey, we're coming back this time. We'll bring out more details later. That's what I like. Just set out a plan, set your plan straight, and then, worry about the little details afterwards. Like MLB, I know players are conflicts with contracts, and everyone wants to make their money, but it is what it is. Just come back, just set a schedule, say, hey, we're coming back, July 30th, we're playing 60 games, we're playing 70 games, and then just come back. Worry about those details later. Just set a time, get it going. Just let's do it. Let's get something going. The MLS, they did it really, really quietly. Nobody noticed when they did it, and they're back. So, there's not much to say. The MLB is being very, very picky for a sport that a lot of arenas are empty, unless your team's in the playoff hunt. So kind of just hurry it up. Let's get going. Let's get this show on the road. Let's if you're gonna have a season, let's get it in. If you want to be done before October, you want to get set amount of games, you want to get player reps into it. Let's go. Obviously your pitchers need to get back into shape. That's what spring training's for. Your batters, they need to get back into shape. So we kind of need a season and we kind of need a set time. So worry about the details later. Let's just get the schedule out. If you want to have a season, I know they can't afford to not have a season, but let's just go. Let's go. All right. So this segment is something I'm taking off of Colin Cowherd's Pocket. Colin does this segment where he does Dak or Dis. He compares. He says he's going to choose Dak or another quarterback. Which one would he start off with? And this game's going to be called Gimme or Gimme. Obviously, it's going to involve Jimmy Garoppolo, my favorite quarterback from my favorite team, and other 10 other quarterbacks in the league. Who would I take now? So Jimmy Garoppolo or Tom Brady? I'm going to go with Jimmy Garoppolo just because Jimmy Garoppolo is the guy Bill Belichick wanted to replace Tom Brady with until, he was traded to the 49ers. I liked Jimmy Garoppolo when I first saw him when Tom Brady was suspended for 4 games. That's when I first started liking Jimmy Garoppolo. Also, he went to Eastern Illinois. Obviously being from Illinois, I want to support Jimmy since he went to Illinois, since he is from Illinois. So I would go with Jimmy Garoppolo just because he's younger. He just came back from the Super Bowl. Obviously a Super Bowl loss, but he doesn't play defense, so you can't hurt him for that. Jimmy Garoppolo or Drew Brees? At this moment, I would take Jimmy Garoppolo. Again, Drew Brees is 41 years old. He's old. He's not as quick as he used to be. That's all we got to say about that. Jimmy Garoppolo or Dak Prescott? And I like Dak Prescott, but I'm going to go with Jimmy Garoppolo. Just because Jimmy Garoppolo has had less starts and he's been in the Super Bowl. I think he's had 26 starts. Jimmy Garoppolo he's had way less starts than Dak, and he's already been to a Super Bowl. He has an NFC Championship also. Jimmy Garoppolo or Carson Wentz? And I'm going to go with Carson Wentz on this one just because Carson Wentz last year led the Philadelphia Eagles throwing to paper bags and shoelaces. And, no other receiver had more than 500 yards no other receiver had more than 500 yards receiving. So, obviously, Carson Wentz knows what to do. He's always hurt, which is also a concern. But I'm going to go with Carson Wentz because, I need to go against Jimmy at some point. Jimmy Garoppolo or Russell Wilson? They play in the same division. Last year, they were both 1-1 against each other. I'm going to go with Russell Wilson just because I think his pre-snaps are great. He's been to the Super Bowl twice. He's won once, and his one loss was very, very questionable. Why did he throw on the 2-yard line? But I will go with Russell Wilson just because I know his pre-snaps are amazing, and he's just a better quarterback right now. Jimmy Garoppolo or Jared Goff? Again, Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl. He is a franchise quarterback, but I'm going to go with Jimmy Garoppolo here. Just because, again, Jimmy and Goff are kind of quiet guys. They're never really in the press. They're never really saying anything controversial. But I'm going to go with Jimmy Garoppolo just because he's winning now. He's got a real good team around him. Jared Goff doesn't really have the best team around him. I mean, he just lost. What's that running back's name? Losing his name. It'll come back to me. But yeah, his team's over the salary cap. They're kind of losing players by the minute. And this one's kind of interesting. Jimmy Garoppolo or Ryan Fitzpatrick? I'm gonna go with Jimmy Garoppolo. Ryan Fitzpatrick would give me 3 great games a year. That's about it. Jimmy Garoppolo was kind of consistent and held the 49ers together all year, and he's 22-5 as a starter. So obviously Jimmy Garoppolo is a better option. Jimmy Garoppolo or Mitch Trubisky? No question, Jimmy Garoppolo. I think anybody would take that. Mitch Trubisky, yes, he does win. People complain, but Trubisky, I think, has a winning record in Chicago. I might be wrong. I don't really follow the Chicago Bears as much, but he's won a division before. People blame Trubisky because people in Bears fans want to blame someone for everything. But again, I'll just go with Jimmy Garoppolo just because he's won an NFC championship. He's won playoff games. And he's more experienced right now at this point. Josh Allen or Jimmy Garoppolo. This one's hard because Josh Allen is up and coming. I will go with Jimmy Garoppolo here just because, I got to see how Josh Allen plays. And remember, this is who I'm taking now. It's not who I'm going to take in the future. It's not who I'm going to take 10 years from now. It's who I'm taking now. And again, Josh Allen is up and coming. I believe maybe in 2-3 years I'll take Josh Allen, but I need to see him win a division. I need to see him win a playoff game. I just need to see more from him. Kirk Cousins or Jimmy Garoppolo. And again, I love Kirk Cousins. I loved him back when he was in Washington. He was one of my favorite quarterbacks. When he took Washington to the playoffs that one year, a couple years ago, I was a huge Kirk Cousins fan. Then he went to Minnesota. I still like him. He's a good quarterback. He can win a lot of games. Very, very questionable in big games, especially Monday night. But I'll take Jimmy Garoppolo here just because Jimmy Garoppolo has proven that he can win in the biggest stage. So those are my picks. That's my Jimmy or Gimme segment. I hope you guys liked it. I'm hoping to do some more segments like this where I do this or that. Kind of submit something to me to give me something to talk about. All right, this next segment is my last segment. So today, when I got out of school, I went to Riverside Mall because my sister told me that Riverside Mall was opening today. And obviously I went to Oakbrook, to kind of see how that is. It was pretty packed at Oakbrook too. I just kind of drove by Oakbrook. I didn't really go inside. So places are getting full. There's more and more people outside. Obviously, if you went outside 2 months ago, you'd see basically, a haystack, just going through the road because it was that empty. I know I didn't go out for 2.5 weeks when this thing first started. I went out just because I had to because, we had a situation with a car. So kind of had to get the car fixed. But anyways, I went to the mall, Riverside Mall. And one of the funniest things was seeing how packed it was on the first day it opened. I think today was the first day it opened. But going in there, I went in there just to see. I really didn't go in there with the intention of buying anything. I just went there to see. And what I saw, I wasn't astonished. I know, North Riverside Mall is known for its craziness. And, I saw a lot of people there. Obviously, they were pretty good at, keeping their social distancing. It was really good. Everyone was wearing masks. Some people were wearing gloves. Security guards were there, kind of guiding people, reminding people to put on their masks because some people had it on, not on all the way. And I thought it was really funny to kind of just, because I went into a line. A lot of the shoe stores were just packed. I mean, Foot Locker was packed. Finish Line was kind of packed. Champs was semi-packed. A lot of the stores like H&M, JCPenney, you can just walk in because they're huge stores. So, I waited in line at the finish line because, obviously I just wanted to see. I wanted to get in, I wanted to wait in the line just to kind of see how it feels. They had all these, these mats or these pads that said, stand here. And obviously I think everyone was, 6 feet apart. So it was pretty good. I applaud the mall for, following the social distancing, guidelines. Again, I was surprised to see how packed it was. I did stop by the Yorktown Center earlier today just to kind of see. I did get off and I did go inside, and it was almost nobody there. It was basically empty. Obviously, the shoe stores are more packed than anything. But I like the guidelines they have, limit of 20 people, limit of 15 people, depending on the store size, obviously. So obviously going to Yorktown, I saw a lot of cars parked, but I didn't see any people out there. So it must have been a lot of the workers or whatever. But again, comparing it to Yorktown, Yorktown was like a ghost town. Like you can walk around. I went into the store and like I was greeted and it was really nice. And then I go to North Riverside Mall and again, not saying that it was bad, but it was just a lot of people in there. Obviously, not a lot of people inside the store. A lot of people, walking around. Um, and again, the mall opened. Everyone's kind of been waiting for the mall to open. It's been closed for almost 3 months, and it finally opened. So everyone wants to go back in there, and I get it. I went in there, so but I went in there to kind of just see how everything was going. Again, I applaud the workers for really following the guidelines, for encouraging people to follow the guidelines. I really like that. It wasn't like a crazy zoo in there. Everyone was kind of well with their social distancing. People were, when they were walking, when they would pass somebody, they'd, go around them. They were pretty good at keeping distance. And I was really proud of that. Going to North Riverside Mall because I know it's been known for its, craziness in the past. But again, I applaud the people that were there, and it was really, really packed. Just because, I didn't think anybody would be following the guidelines. But everyone was respectful. Everyone waited in line. No one was complaining. Everyone knew. So, again, I really like that. I applaud it. Again, I just wanted to talk about that experience because, I know a lot of people, it's at this point, social distancing is something we're not used to. So after a while, we just kind of, don't want to do it anymore or, follow it loosely. But again, at the mall, I was there today. Really, really well. Really, really well run. It was awesome to kind of just be a part of it. And just I just went there to walk around. I stood in a line that was small just so I can go inside a store. I was in and out in like 5 seconds. I just went in there, saw if there was a pair of shoes there. There wasn't. A pair of shoes that I wanted. But again, it was just awesome. It was cool. It was great. I applaud the people that were there. I applaud the workers and how hard they worked. I like seeing that. I think it's awesome. But yeah, that's what I have to say about that segment. All right, so that wraps up the Crisscross Show. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to be back very soon. I don't know when. Obviously, when there's more sports talk to go around, I'll obviously be back to kind of talk about it, give my opinions on it. But in the meantime, everyone stay safe and, like and subscribe. Recommend this to a friend. Let's get a guest on here. I've been saying it. Let's talk about something other than sports. That's why this is called the Crisscross Show, because I want to go crisscrossing everywhere and every subject. So, until next time.